In just 8 minutes, get the key insights from the 1-hour Shield of the Republic podcast with Eliot, Cohen, and Eric Edelman, posted by the Bulwark on February 17, 2025. They dive into Trump's lasting impact, global politics, and the future of democracy, all in a way that might just change how you see the world. Stay till the end. Here are the key takeaways from the podcast. Takeaway 1. Trump is an American phenomenon. Many compare Trump to foreign autocrats like Putin or Orban, but his rise is deeply rooted in American history. Figures like Andrew Jackson, Joseph McCarthy, and Father Coughlin had similar populist, anti-elite messages. While some tactics may resemble those of European strongmen, Trump's movement is uniquely shaped by U.S. culture, history, and institutions. For example, Trump's attacks on judges and institutions are reminiscent of McCarthy's witch hunts in the 1950s, where accusations alone destroyed careers. Do you think Trump is more like past American leaders or more like today's European autocrats? Comment below. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 2. This time the damage could be permanent. Unlike Trump's first term, the long-term effects of his policies this time might not be reversible. His actions are systematically undermining key government institutions, including the judiciary, intelligence agencies, and foreign policy apparatus. Future administrations may not be able to repair the damage. For example, loyalty tests are being imposed on government officials, including asking intelligence officers to declare that January 6th was an inside job. This erodes the professionalism of these institutions, replacing competence with blind allegiance. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 3. Trump's goal is destruction, not strength. Most autocrats expand government power to control it. Trump, however, seems more interested in tearing it down. His movement seeks to weaken agencies, remove experts, and strip down regulatory frameworks. But this does not mean he is weakening his own power. He consolidates control over the government while hollowing it out. For example, his team is talking about eliminating entire agencies like USAID without any serious review, instead of reforming them. This kind of reckless approach could dismantle crucial government functions. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 4. Congress is giving away its power. For decades, Congress has been shifting power to the presidency. Under Trump, this trend is accelerating as many lawmakers willingly surrender their constitutional authority. Instead of acting as a check on the executive, they are deferring to his demands, even when they clearly undermine democratic norms. For example, rather than challenging Trump's overreach, Republican lawmakers are endorsing plans like ignoring congressional spending decisions, which could set a dangerous precedent for unchecked presidential power. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 5. Trump's foreign policy is a mess. Trump's approach to international affairs is unpredictable, often reckless, and deeply transactional. His views on Ukraine, Gaza, and NATO reflect a mix of personal grievances, business-like deal-making, and a lack of strategic thinking. For example, he suggested that Gaza's problems could be solved by relocating Palestinians to Saudi Arabia or Africa, much like he once floated the idea of buying Greenland. These ideas are detached from political and humanitarian realities but appeal to his real estate-driven mindset. What do you think is the biggest risk of Trump's foreign policy? Ukraine, China, or something else? Let me know in the comments. We're halfway through the video. Thank you for sticking with us this far. If you're enjoying it, please give us a thumbs up and share it in your WhatsApp groups. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to comment below. To see more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Now let's continue with the video. Takeaway 6. His trade war will backfire. Trump is gearing up for massive tariff wars, believing they will boost the economy. However, tariffs historically hurt American consumers and businesses more than they help. They also provoke retaliation from other countries, damaging industries like agriculture and manufacturing. For example, farmers suffered greatly during Trump's first-term trade war with China. Many had to rely on government bailouts, and if similar policies return, the impact could be even worse. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 7. Trump's attacks on experts are dangerous. Trump is not just removing people he disagrees with. He is actively dismantling the pool of experienced professionals who have guided American foreign and defense policy for decades. His administration is stripping security clearances from officials, blocking bipartisan expertise, and discouraging future public servants from entering government. For example, highly skilled career diplomats and military strategists are being purged from the system. This means that when crises arise, the U.S. will have fewer competent people to handle them. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 8, America's global leadership is at risk. The post-World War II order, where the U.S. led the world's democracies, is breaking down. Other countries used to rely on American stability and long-term commitments. Now they see the U.S. as unpredictable and unreliable. For example, European allies are already preparing for a world where the U.S. may no longer be a dependable partner. They are exploring their own defense arrangements because they no longer trust America to uphold NATO commitments. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 9. Trump is fueling a culture war. Trump's strongest appeal comes from his ability to tap into cultural resentments. His supporters are less interested in policy details and more motivated by his attacks on elites, academia, and institutions they see as out of touch with their values. For example, his promise to dismantle DEI, this is diversity, equity, and inclusion, programs resonate strongly with voters who feel that identity politics have gone too far. Many back him for cultural reasons, even if they dislike his personal behavior. Now let's move to the last takeaway. Takeaway 10. Trump's biggest weakness is himself. Trump's impulsiveness and inability to think strategically could be his undoing. He often sabotages himself by making reckless decisions, alienating potential allies, and failing to follow through on coherent plans. For example, his trade war, chaotic decision-making, and extreme rhetoric often hurt his own voters more than his opponents. If he continues down this path, he could weaken his own position rather than strengthen it. If Trump loses support, do you think it will be because of policy failures or self-inflicted mistakes? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Here is a brief introduction about Eliot Cohen. Eliot Cohen is an American political scientist. He was a counselor in the United States Department of State under Condoleezza Rice from 2007 to 2009. Cohen is a contributing writer at The Atlantic. He is also, with Eric Edelman, a co-host of the Shield of the Republic podcast, published by the Bulwark. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this summary of the Shield of the Republic podcast with Eliot Cohen and Eric Edelman informative. If you're interested in learning more about these topics, I encourage you to watch the full podcast on YouTube by clicking on the link in the description below. If you enjoyed watching this video, please leave a like below and share this video in your WhatsApp groups. You can also discuss about this video by commenting below. To get more such videos in your timeline, press the subscribe button below.